Hello, it's Alison Normore, and I'm reading to you from my book, Return to Pangea, Protectors of the Land. If you know anything of the landscape and geology of Newfoundland, you know it would have been impossible to escape the deep imprinting of rock on my psyche. Still, this aspect of my homeland didn't fully register until I moved to the flat, fertile farmlands of southern Ontario. That was when I truly missed the comforting, solid presence of mountains against my horizons. And in the truly ancient and mythic landscape of my new home in Bombay, I experienced the mystical power of the stone people in a more personal and spiritual sense than I could ever have imagined, in the ways of indigenous wisdom from around the world. It is said everyone has a mountain to climb, and my seafaring, blue-eyed grandfather left a lasting legacy in that regard. When I was 7 years old, my grandfather came to visit us in Springdale. It was a late spring, and on a clear day, you could see in the near distance a perfectly shaped Sugarloaf Hill across 8 kilometers of bogs and ponds from our living room window. "See that mountain?" he asked with a twinkle in his eyes. "That's Poppy's Mountain. Someday I'm going to climb it." My storytelling grandfather was, in my eyes at least, quite the adventurer. He had stories about long sea journeys and pirates along the eastern seaboard to Jamaica. He had built a motel a few kilometers along the highway from his mountain. What I will eventually see is actually a small hill. I don't know if he ever got to climb it, yet I think of him every time I drive past that familiar landmark and what will always be Poppy's Mountain. In the meantime, I discovered I had my own mountain to climb. In 1990, I spent a few months in England on a teaching internship. One weekend, I visited Stonehenge, the prehistoric stone circle in Wiltshire. The impressive circle of stones was roped off at the time and could only be viewed from a distance. As I walked along the pathway to the visitor center, I experienced what I could only describe then as déjà vu, an inner physical jolt that informed me my body recognized this place. The sensation was similar to what I will much later experience when I return to my body after astral traveling. But at the time, it was a strange event stored in memory as miscellaneous, unexplained phenomena. 8 years later, during my first Christmas with my fiance in a new home in Guelph, it's a time of endings and beginnings. I'd recently defended my doctoral dissertation and returned from a celebratory holiday in Europe. Under the brightly decorated Norway spruce tree on Christmas morning is a gift from my fiance, a small heavy box. It is a soapstone sculpture, a seal woman with long, heavy braids down her back and a mermaid tail. The tiny card declared this was Sedna, goddess of the sea. To the northern people, Sedna is a great provider and protector of the oceans and marine life. She is known by many names, including Mother of the Deep and Goddess of Abundance. The northern creation stories vary as to the reasons why, but in most versions, Sedna has angered her father, who throws her into the sea and chops off her fingers when she tries to climb back into the boat. Her fingers turn into seals, walruses, and other sea animals. Falling to the bottom of the ocean, she becomes the feminine creator goddess, revered and respected by hunters who depend on her goodwill to release the animals from her realms. In one telling of the tale, Sedna can be soothed only by those brave enough to plumb the depths of stormy waters and comb the tangles from her hair. I study the sculpture's striking, impassive face with wide open eyes and lips parted as if to speak, wondering what she may want me to know. I feel a kinship with her somehow and place her on a shelf with other sacred things that have yet to unveil their mysteries.